welcome to the November 4th Select Board meeting. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and aired live, and it will be available upon demand from our partners at Easton Cable Access Television. It is a hybrid meeting, so if there's anybody watching from home and you have a question, please post your question in the Q&A of the Zoom meeting, and Sean will keep an eye on it and let us know. We'll ask your question. Please give your name and address for our minutes. And I'm going to ask the board to introduce themselves to ensure we have a quorum. Starting with you, Jen.
I'm Jennifer Stacy.
I'm Mark Lamb.
Dottie Fulgenetti.
And I'm Craig Barger.
And we have Town Administrator Connor Reed, Assistant Town Administrator Sean Dugan, and Executive Assistant Elizabeth Hegg. So we are ready to go. The first item that we have on the agenda, in case people are not aware, tomorrow is the presidential election. Tuesday, November 5th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Oliver Ames High School, 100 Lothrop Street, Easton. You can find out all the information about the election, including your precinct number, at www.easton.ma.us/vote. Connor, did you have anything to add?
It was in our printed notes as well, but any reminder about the election is a good time and a good reminder for us to collectively thank and acknowledge our town clerk's office and all of Easton's poll workers and our election workers who work for many months to offer safe and secure options to voters of Easton. This room had been being used for early voting for weeks, so it's nice for us to be back here. But those folks have been working pretty much around the clock through a lot of weekends for a long time, so we really appreciate them. And we know that tomorrow's a long day, and then there's certification and closeout, and then we have town meeting. So just a really, really busy season for them. So I wanted to say thank you.
Agreed. Thank you. They do a great job. And if you are voting tomorrow in person, make sure to thank the poll workers while you're there. All right. The next item that we have is the special town meeting, Monday, November 18th, 7 p.m., Oliver Ames High School, 100 Lothrop Street, Easton. For information on that, you can go to www.easton.ma.us/town-meeting. Anything you want to add to that?
Nope. Thank you.
Hope people get there early so that we can start early and finish early and get our quorum in order. And it's always a great time to see our friends and neighbors at that meeting. So hope to see you there. The next item we have is a Water Division outreach announcement.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'll try not to read directly from my notes, but I do have some data that I have to look down and read from. But this is all part of a mandate coming down from the Environmental Protection Agency concerning improvements to the lead and copper rule. So back last February, I came to you in regards to a inventory we needed to conduct here in Easton, because part of the mandate is for all public water suppliers across the United States is to identify every single service connection to our system. So part of our inventory was to mail out approximately 4,000 letters to identify what that pipe material was on the customer side of the service. With that, between our records, the assessor's cards, and inspections that we were able to conduct, we have identified 6,407 being non-lead, those being copper or made out of plastic, of which we found 10 to be galvanized and 0 lead, and 1,331 being unknown. So the 3,100 are properties that we never got to validate what the pipe is. So the next piece of this whole process is that on the 15th of November, I have to put a letter in all these property owners' hands to tell them of the health risks of lead galvanized services. So with that, plus the 10 that we do know that have galvanized. The mandate calls out that we have to put out a public notice for these property owners. And in that letter, I will invite us to do an inspection so that we can reduce that 1,300 number down to hopefully someday 0. So that, and I feel pretty confident that most of these will all be copper, but there is an outside chance that some of them will be galvanized. So the problem with the galvanized services is that unless we have records to verify that there was never a lead service before that galvanized service, the EPA mandates that we must treat it like there was lead there before. Part of our problem, and Dave can also kind of chime in, was that before 1958, Easton was comprised of 4 separate private water districts. And we do not have complicit records, what was done, what was removed, what was installed. Those would have been great pieces of information to validate our point, but since we don't have them, I must follow the mandate going by the EPA and treat every piece of galvanized like there was lead at one time before that. So part of the mandate says that we need to do mailings annually to all the unknowns and galvanized services connected in our system going forward every year until there is nothing left out there in the system. So that's the bigger part I wanted to share with you all. I did push over a template to the Mass DEP, and right now the Boston office has that template, and hopefully I have something back from them in short order, because the clock is working against me to get something out to our residents.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure that we got it out there why we're doing this. It's kind of a scary letter. It says, the health effects of lead, and it, but most of the people are not going to have an issue. We just need to perform an inspection. And as Rich said, we didn't become a town water division or water department until 1958. Before that, it was all private. So getting those records is tough, but we have a high degree of confidence that we have no lead in our system. All the older sections have been proactively removed before, well in their mid-1900s have been removed. And when we go to do our oldest water mains now, we did water mains that were worked on in 1887. They're all copper services. So we're very confident that the town side is lead-free. It's just we don't have the records that show from the curb stop to the customer's house that every single property is lead-free. So that's why we're sending this letter. Hopefully people will call us and let us do an inspection, and we can get that number down to 0 like Rich would like. Because this will have to go on every year.
I think it's good that you're offering an inspection. I think the last postcard is probably still sitting on my desk, and I know that we meant to do it. I think my husband did it, and he probably sent me the pictures, and I didn't send them back in. So there's probably a lot of people that are in that situation, or, the instructions are kind of not complicated, but it's like, I don't want to do all this stuff. So if somebody can come in and do it for somebody, I think that will make a big difference.
I think we learned an awful lot from that because there was a lot of confusion. And when I read, this was another template that came to us, and they kind of told us to try to follow that. But even the words were just confusing when you read it. And sometimes it's a lot easier just to go in there and get the proof that we need.
Yeah.
I'll second what Dottie said, because I'm also going to out myself as having not followed through as well. So I appreciate the inspection aspect as well. It just makes it more clear and understandable. So.
Yep, absolutely.
It's particularly hard in the older houses that have the fieldstone foundations and the low ceilings, and it's not something, if you don't have a washer and dryer down there, like I never go in my basement. There's nothing down there except for the furnace. Right?
We targeted houses this time based on the age of the house, age of the water main, in areas that we knew that there may have been an older water main that was abandoned and replaced by a newer main, but they never replaced what was on the customer's side.
Sure. Mark?
When you learn that somebody has lead or galvanized pipe, I'm guessing they're then required to replace it.
That is something that we will be sharing with the residents, that we would recommend, because of its health concerns, that they replace it.
So you can make a recommendation, but are you able to enforce it? Not that I'm supporting enforcing it in either way. I'm just curious, if they say no, I'm not going to.
So I will share with you that Wayne Southworth, back in the mid-1980s, sent several of these property owners letters recommending that they replace the galvanized line back then. And shockingly, Mark, a couple of them still, the line is there.
I know.
And when the question came up, who was going to replace it? And we informed them that the customer is responsible for that side of the service. They kind of said, well, we've been living here for decades. We're not going to replace it.
Okay.
Could we, just for the public's benefit here, because for all of us, we use words like, oh, the service or the line. There's going to be 1,300 people who get a letter that is written by state and federal regulators, so it will probably be multiple pages long of highly technical, very dense jargon talking about lead. Nothing in Easton's public water infrastructure has changed, right?
No,
Right.
so the service line we're talking about is the customer's line. Which
On
goes
their
from the
property.
Curb stop
Right.
to the property.
Right, but
The
I just
town
want
has
to,
its own service line that goes from the main to the curb stop, and that we know we are lead free because
right.
we've.
So I just
gone
want to reinforce that, obviously, given the sensitivity around water and lead in water. And that what we're talking about is a federal mandate that we have to inventory the services that are on people's private properties. We know most of them. There's 1,300 that are unknown. So we're going to do a direct targeted campaign with those folks. Correct?
Yes.
Great. I'm curious, and I don't like to ask you questions without telling you beforehand, but do we get any money from the DEP or EPA to assist with this?
I'm not going to answer your question directly because there is federal monies being provided and state money.
Okay.
But understand that there are large urban municipalities who have thousands of lead services.
Right. That will be higher of a
And they're
priority.
going after those large communities because it will take them probably an entire decade to rid them of the services. Whereas our town of Easton is in a much different parallel. Is we have a much smaller aggregate number, but to identify what we have, we can start looking at different options that, we have a water main replacement, we could look at those kind of activities which might provide a contractor to be utilized to see if these property owners would be willing to engage and replace their line.
Thank you.
And Easton's had really great leadership in the water division, in water department before that, and even on the, with those private water companies. Our water system is very good as far as pipe materials, so it was a concerted effort to have the best pipe materials. We only have ductile iron and cast iron. I worked in many other communities that have a plethora of other pipe materials that aren't ideal. Tin, asbestos cement, things like that. So we have a high degree of confidence that our side is good, and almost all of these are going to be fine. It's just we have to go through this process. So we just wanted to make everyone aware of that.
Right.
Why so if you get calls, why are we getting this letter? That's why we're willing to come out there and perform the inspection, hopefully get these off the list.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you,
And,
gentlemen.
it's all in the name of keeping people safe,
Yeah,
too.
that's right.
So, go ahead, Craig, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I just wanted to thank him for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, next we have some licenses and permits. We have a road closure request for the Veterans Day Parade, Monday, November 11th. From 9:30 to 10:30 on Main Street, from Washington Street to Sullivan Ave, and 10:30 to 1:30 on Sullivan Ave from Main Street to Oliver Street. So here's our Veteran Services Officer, Jason Snyder, now to tell us a little bit about it.
Good evening. My name's Jason Snyder, Veteran Service Officer. I'm just going to talk a little bit about Monday, November 11th, which is Veterans Day. We're going to have a parade. The parade's going to start around 10 o'clock. The muster site is going to be 9:30 if anyone would like to participate, whether a walk, march, or jump in one of the classic cars that will be there. It's going to be a veteran classic car club. So we're going to start mustering around 9:30 right at Washington Plaza, which is on Main in 138. The parade's going to kick off around 10 o'clock. We're going to go down Main, and then we're going to turn down to Sullivan, and then we're going to end up at the Veterans Memorial Park. The weather's going to be like 68. It's going to be seasonably warm, so I don't think we're going to need an alternate site, but if we do need one, the VFW said that we can use their space, which would start at 11 o'clock. I'm very excited for the town to meet our parade marshal, a young veteran here in town, 3 tours combat. Very nice guy. He's very excited also, and his family is super proud. So I can't wait to meet his family. But yeah, come on out Monday, November 11th. Let's honor our veterans and show them our appreciation for their commitment and sacrifice. We're also going to have at the Veterans Memorial, we're going to have Flashback Franks like we normally do, and there's going to be like a couple yard games set up. Yeah, so it should be a good day.
Great. Sounds awesome. Any comments, questions from the board?
Look forward to it.
No,
Thank you for all the work you're
always look
putting
forward
in.
to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a beautiful day.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
Great. Oh, so we have to vote on the road closure
Right,
request.
right. So I move to approve the road closure request, Veterans Day Parade, Monday, November 11th, 2024, 9:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. Main Street from Washington Street to Sullivan Ave, and 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Sullivan Avenue from Main Street to Oliver Street.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay. We got a couple minutes, so we're looking for an application for a new common victualler license, AJ 147 Easton LLC, doing business as Aroma Joe's, 507 Foundry Street in Easton. Anyone here for that? No? Okay. We have an application in our packet for a new common vic license from AJ 147 Easton LLC, doing business as Aroma Joe's, 507 Foundry Street. The application has been reviewed by town departments with no concerns.
The
It's-
applicant just joined Dottie on Zoom. Sorry.
Okay. Do you want to bring Aaron Wiswell, managing partner?
Declined to be promoted to a panelist.
Okay. Do we have any questions for them? This is a pretty standard routine.
Yeah, it's an existing business for interior seating, so there's no concerns with existing departments. So if the applicant can't join on Zoom, I wouldn't suggest the board needs to table it.
That's fine. Craig, you want to make a motion?
Application for a new common vicular license, AJ 147 Easton LLC, doing business as Aroma Joe's, 507 Foundry Street, Easton, Mass.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. It's a great place. I've been there before recently, and very nice place to have a meeting or just to join a friend for coffee. And next up, we have a one-day liquor license for Stonehill College for 2 basketball game beer gardens at the College Center, 320 Washington Street, November 21st from 6 to 9 p.m. with a rain date of November 22nd, and December 1st, 2024, 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. with a rain date of December 2nd. Would you like to make a motion, Craig?
Sure, so I move to approve the Stonehill College 2 basketball game beer gardens, College Center, 320 Washington Street, November 21, 2024, from 6 to 9 p.m. with a rain date of November 22nd, and December 1st, 2024, from 12 to 6 p.m. with a rain date of December 2nd.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, so we are right here at 6:20. We have a public hearing for a transfer of an auto dealer, Class 2 license, from Tremolaris Corp., doing business as TC Automotive, 720 Depot Street, Easton, to Boston Auto Group LLC, 720 Depot Street, Easton. Craig, do you want to read the public
Sure.
hearing?
Easton Select Board as licensing authorities will hold a public hearing in the Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Mass. On Monday, November 4th, 2024 at 6:20 PM to consider and act upon an application for a transfer of a Class 2 license from Tremolaris Corporation, doing business as TC Automotive, 720 Depot Street, Easton, Mass. to Boston Auto Group LLC, 720 Depot Street, Easton, Mass. to engage in the principal business of buying or selling secondhand motor vehicles or parts thereof pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 140. Those who wish to attend, those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the record may do so by sending an email with the subject Public Hearing, Boston Auto Group LLC, to ehag@easton.ma.us.
Okay.
Thank you, Dottie. So this is just an existing Class 2 license that is being transferred at 720 Depot Street. The applicant has submitted a new application because there isn't technically a mechanism in statute to allow for a transfer, so they applied through the regular process. Nothing has changed about the site, and all town departments have reviewed this and have no concerns. If the board so chooses to approve, I just recommend that it's approved with the same 25 vehicles on display as the previous owner, and that it's contingent on the filing of all fees and paperwork. There's a couple of outstanding items that they still owe us, including a $25,000 surety bond.
Okay, terrific. Well, it's nice to know that the place is being revitalized with a new owner.
Yep. And we're joined by the Chief Executive Officer, George McCool, and their attorney, Joe Grimaldi, both remote.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening, board members. How are you?
Good, thanks for being here tonight. I'm just going to pull the board. Do we have any questions?
Just clarify, where's 720 Depot Street? Which one?
Five corners.
Oh, so this is
It's the old Sunoco, TC Automotive.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any questions?
So you're doing sales and service, or just sales of used cars?
If I can speak for Mr. McCool, I believe it's sales and service. Correct, George?
Good evening, everyone. Yes, we will be sales and service.
Excellent.
Okay.
All right. If there's no comments or questions, nothing from the public, nothing in the Q&A. Craig, you want to make a motion?
Sure, I move to approve the transfer of the auto dealer 2 license from Tremolaris Corporation, doing business as TC Automotive, 720 Depot Street, Easton, Mass. to Boston Auto Group LLC, 720 Depot Street, Easton, Mass.
With the contingencies.
With the
that
contingencies
Sean
that Sean mentioned, yes. Thank you.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations on your new place, and we wish you great success doing business in Easton.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Sean will
Thank
be
you.
in touch with you to just follow up on some of the missing paperwork.
Yes,
Perfect.
thank you.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
All right, then we have 2 minutes left before the next one. Do you want to do the Swifts Park acceptance of easement? Or is there a presentation with that one?
There's no presentation. So item 11, the vote for acceptance of an easement for Swifts Park. There's a memo in your packet from a Director of Planning and Economic Development, Stephanie Danielson. This is a easement, a friendly easement granted by Miss Arlene Keach abutting what will be Swifts Park. It's an easement necessary for the construction of a park that was granted functionally for free, but technically $1 per the easement by Ms. Keach, so we thank her for that. And the Planning Department is recommending that the board vote to accept and sign the public access easement, and I agree with thanks to Ms. Keach.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you, Ms. Keach.
Excellent. All right, well, it's all coming together down there. Would you like to make a motion, Craig?
Sure, we move to accept the Swifts Park acceptance of the easement, to accept a public access easement required for the redevelopment of Swifts Park as authorized by town meeting vote on the annual town meeting May 20th, 2024.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lynn. All in favor? Unanimous. All right, we are ready for the 6:25 public hearing. This is a change of hours of a Section 12 on-premises restaurant, all alcoholic beverages license for Gianna Restaurant LLC for premises situated at 3 Roosevelt Circle. Craig, do you want to read the
Sure.
public
The
notice?
Select Board of Easton, as licensing authorities, will hold a public hearing in the Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Mass. On Monday, November 4, 2024, at 6:25 p.m. to consider and act upon the application of Gianna Restaurant LLC for a change of hours for an existing Section 12 on-premises restaurant all alcohol beverage license for premises situated at 3 Roosevelt Circle, Easton, Mass. With a plan on file at the Select Board's office. Those who cannot attend and wish to submit written testimony for the record may do so by sending an email with the subject public hearing, Gianna change of hours, to ehag@easton.ma.us.
Hello,
Hello.
you
How
must
are
be
you?
Brandon.
Yes. How are you guys?
You want to just
Good, how are
introduce
you?
yourself and,
Yeah, Brandon Chase for Gianna Restaurant. Yep.
okay. So you've been back here a couple of times. How long have you been there now?
We opened on January 9th, so not even a year yet. But
Okay.
yeah, I've been here once.
Excellent. So we've talked about the hours a couple of times, and it seems like you've got things running pretty well down there. And
Yeah, everything's going well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And something that I noticed is you're always busy, so that's
We're always busy.
That's
It's a
really
good
great.
thing. Yeah, it's good.
And Stoneforge is always busy too.
Yeah,
So it didn't seem like it seems your restaurants are complementary to each other.
I mean that's pretty common when restaurants are in the same area. You're
Yeah.
bringing people to the area. It's not just a single destination. So it's been good. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. So does the board have any questions, starting with you, Jen?
My biggest question, just this is more for Sean and Connors, have there been any complaints or feedback about noise or other issues from the restaurant?
So we spoke with the police department to just do a review of the calls that were made, and the police department provided that since April of 2024, there have been 6 calls to the establishment. 4 of those were made by staff at Gianna to the police, and 2 were made by neighbors.
Okay.
And the neighbor calls, I think one
was for noise, and
the
another
other
was for a gathering or disturbance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So out of a
I
year's
was
worth
actually
of time.
unaware of that. I didn't know anyone called. No one told us. And I actually talked to the staff when we came here too.
Well, I think in one of those, when the police came, there was nobody there, so it was a non-issue. Just
Right, and just, Sean, to be clear, it sounds like there were 2 that were potential noise complaints from folks outside the restaurant. 1, there was no one there.
1 was unfounded, yes.
Right.
Well, without knowing the nature of any of the calls, you throw that out in the ether, and people are led to lead to negative assumptions. And I don't know. That's because if you ask the police department about every restaurant in town and how many calls you got, and then we don't do that.
My reaction's different, though. I actually was surprised it's so low, to be honest with you.
1 call in a year?
Oh, yeah, I
For-
think it's very low.
But
Sure.
That's
is
my
low,
reaction.
yes. But I'm just nothing's risen to an occasion of serious concern.
No, to be clear, our office has received no complaints
Yeah,
against
okay.
the license.
Right.
And
We've
and I
received
think
no complaints, because if there was complaints, believe me, nobody would be shy about
I think it's just
telling us
important to be
right?
clear about it, and that's,
Yeah.
I think 6 and 2 of them being noise and 1 materializing to nothing is very reasonable.
And our staff is directed to call without hesitation because they're all female staff. As
Right.
soon as you feel that there's any sort of potential problem, just call.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's the direction, just because we don't, we never know. And I think most of the calls have been because customers were cut off from alcohol before they got to that point, and they were not happy about it, obviously, because, people argue that, they're okay and whatnot. So those were the majority of the calls.
If you were to stay open until 1 o'clock, when would last call typically be?
I just want to clarify, we're
Of
not
course.
planning on changing our hours at all.
Okay.
So there's a process issue with, if we're open till midnight on the weekends and our last call is at 11:30 and a customer's still finishing their drink, we have to take that drink from them. If we extend the hours, we can let them finish their drink while our staff is closing and cleaning.
Okay.
It's really just for that, number
Excellent.
1. Number 2, we've had to turn down several buyout opportunities and several private parties because our liquor license was closed too soon for that. So these events where we would have to close a restaurant because it was a buyout, they want a longer night, basically. And that's really it. We have no desire to change our hours. We don't want to stay open any later.
Fantastic,
And this
thank you.
doesn't change your outside hours, there'll be no change to that.
We're not changing our hours at all.
Business operation kind of aspect. Okay.
Correct. It's just for compliance. If someone still has a drink in front of them at 12:01, we're out of compliance and we can get issues. With this, it just eliminates that issue.
Thank you.
And when do you close your kitchen and your service? What time do you actually close down so that people, if they're drinking, they know that they have to leave and it's...
Yep. So kitchen closes at 11 on the weekends and I believe 10:30 during the week.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
Okay, all right.
I support this. It gives you latitude to operate your business.
Yeah, just
to
flexibility,
create more
just to stay in
revenue.
compliance. Yep.
That a lot of other restaurants in town have the luxury of making that choice.
Correct.
I think also it's impressive that you're following compliance issues so seriously, because it would probably, be easy to just be flexible with that on your own. And, as you know, when you hold a liquor license, if something happens, it's pretty serious. So I'm glad to hear that you're taking it seriously, and I'm glad to hear that you've advised your staff if there is anything that looks, you have, just like we have at Town Hall, you have an obligation to provide your staff with a safe working environment and, to empower them to do that and not have to second guess themselves, I think is really, really great.
Yeah, we serve thousands of people a week, and if there was only 6 calls since then, I mean that's
Yeah.
Very good.
yeah.
All right.
I just want to say that we've been 3 times and we've had good food
Great.
all 3 times, so
Great.
I just want to let you know that.
Happy to hear it.
He doesn't stay till midnight, though.
But I move to approve the change of hours of a Section 12 on-premises restaurant, all alcoholic beverages licensed for Gianna Restaurant LLC for premises located at 3 Roosevelt Circle, Easton, Mass.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. And just want to thank you again for bringing your business to Easton and putting your faith in this community, and we appreciate having you in our town.
Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Excellent.
Thank you very
guys.
much, Brandon.
Thank you.
Okay. Next is Easton Cultural Council appointment. We have Lisa Braxton Reed. This is for a seat that expires June 30th, 2027. Lisa, if you want to come on up, it's good to see you. And let me just mention the Cultural Council charge. So the Cultural Council is a little bit different than the Cultural District. The regional councils consist of members that are appointed within the consortium in the manner described. What they essentially do is Mass Cultural Council gives each of these communities some money every year, and the Cultural Council reviews applications that they get from the community artists, and they make the decisions on the financial distribution on who gets them and how much money they get. So it happens once a year. The big exciting time is in October when those are due, I believe, and then thereafter they're evaluated and announced, and the council then follows up and administers them and make sure that everything's paid out. So it's a really great committee to be on. So just tell us about, introduce yourself to the group and tell us a little bit about why you want to be on that committee.
Lisa Braxton Reed. My husband and I moved here about two and a half years ago, and I find that we really enjoy Easton and the cultural things it offers and the natural resources. I love walking my dog at Borderland State Park, as well as the Ames properties. And I've gotten plugged in. I'm a member now of the Historical Society and Museum. I'm also helping out the Tricentennial Committee with their commemorative book that's going to come out in 2026. I'm a former full-time journalist. I've worked in different parts of the country, so I have a lot of writing experience. So that's one reason why my neighbor, Dave Clifton, tapped me. Our dogs play together, and all of a sudden, I really blame my dog because our dogs are playing, and he says, "Hey, you're a writer. You could help us with that book." And all of a sudden, I'm on the committee, which is just fine.
That's how it works.
That's how this happens.
Yes. So
No going back now.
And David's very good at that.
Oh yeah. He's really a good maneuver with those things. So I enjoy doing that, and I'm also plugged into the library because I've written a memoir and a novel, and I've done events at the Quisette House. so I know some of the librarians pretty well, and they've been helping me with get some research together for my next novel, and I've done events and had a big book party a few months ago there. So I'm interested in getting more plugged in. And I enjoy culture, I enjoy Easton. My previous job was at the National Fire Protection Association. I was in charge of 2 small grants given to any fire department in the country who was doing fire safety education. And I was charged with drafting the applications, receiving them, working with the committee to grade them, and publicizing the recipients and what they were going to do with their project. So those are just some of the reasons why I'm interested in being on the committee, cultural committee.
Excellent. Any questions or comments from the board?
I just really love when folks who are relatively new to town like jump right into civic engagement. So thank you. And you jumped in hard. So a lot of different angles, which is fantastic.
Jumped in or was jumped?
A little bit of both.
You have a lot of passion. You have a lot of experience, a lot of education. You be an asset to any community you're part of, any committee you're part of as well. So thank you for stepping up.
Thank you.
I'm the board representative on the Tricentennial Committee. And I think your dog probably plays with my granddaughter's dog over at
What's your dog? What's the dog's name?
Luna.
Luna? I think, yeah. Oh, yes. I know who you're talking about. Yes. Yeah.
So thank you very much for jumping in. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa. You've got a lot of experience, and I think having somebody with your background on that committee, you're going to have a good time, and I think you'll really enjoy working with the people that are on that. So.
Good.
And I forgot that you wrote a book. I remember that now, that you had that at the Queesit House. So.
Yes, yeah,
Great.
2 books.
Yes.
One's a novel that came out a few years ago, and my memoir came out earlier this year.
That's excellent.
Excellent.
Awesome.
So I move to appoint Lisa Braxton Reed to the Easton Cultural Council with a seat expiration of June 30th, 2027.
Second.
So that's Barger and Lamb, and this is a roll call vote.
Stacy Braxton Reed.
Lamb Braxton Reed.
Full Janetti Braxton Reed.
Barger Braxton Reed.
So you'll get a notice from the town clerk's office on how to get sworn in a few days after the election when they can get back to the office.
Okay.
And then, you know, they'll tell you when the first meeting is going to be.
Okay.
So, thanks so much.
Thank
It's good
you.
to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oops.
All right. An update and a presentation from PMA Consultants and Castle Booz Associates for the Easton Public Safety and Public Works Facilities Replacement Project. This is the final design and bidding and construction schedule, site wayfinding, and naming discussion. Welcome back.
Good to be here.
And we have Greg Joint from KBA is joining us remotely.
Good evening.
Greg.
Hey, Greg.
So it's been a while since we've invited Greg and Walter in to give an update to the select board. They've been very busy working with the municipal building committee, conservation commission, planning board, with their development of detailed design development, looking at civil engineering, environmental considerations, things of that nature. And we are nearing the finish line of this phase of the project, getting ready to go out to bid. So this is basically your last look at this before it goes out on the market, and thought it'd be a good time to bring the team back in. So Greg or Walter, I don't know who's taking the lead here, but
Greg's going to start,
Okay.
and he's got some information, then I'll take over once he's gone through the design stuff.
awesome.
So again, good evening. Greg Joint with Castle Booz, and we'll just run through kind of quickly a bit of an update here. Starting with permitting and just giving you all a sense of where we are, a little bit of a design update. It's been a while since you've seen things, as Connor said. So things haven't drastically changed, but there have been some refinements in the design that will get everybody will get to say tonight. Then we'll talk about the 80% package, so the most recent package that's been estimated as 80%. An update on pre-qualification, a statutory requirement for the project. Schedule and next steps, and then finally any questions or comments on the presentation. So starting at 524 Depot Street, so the public safety and DPW complex, we have gone through all of our required permitting activities with the town. We've received approvals from both Conservation Commission and from Planning and Zoning. So really in full, the design side permitting for that particular site is complete. with very little in the way of conditions with the order of conditions or questions or comments from planning and zoning. So great news on 524 Depot Street. On 321 Main Street, which is the fire substation, we are at a planning board meeting tonight, probably right now. Part of the team is there to seek approval for the planning and zoning of that project on that site. We have received staff comments, which were all minor in nature, and we anticipate that will close either tonight or at the next meeting. In terms of design update, I just wanted to give a brief design update. I'll talk through the slides rather quickly. This is the design revisions for the public safety. So I'll just kind of walk you down from the west side of Depot Street toward the east, going along the front of the facade of the public safety building. And now we're really kind of at the intersection of Cross Street, looking back toward the east and towards the apparatus bay and fire department living quarters. Just looking at the main entry of the public safety building, moving back on the site to the entry for the public works facility. As we move behind the fence in public works to the left, and the storage building for public safety to the right. Again, just kind of an overall view on the east side, looking back west across the DPW yard in the back. In the foreground is the fuel island, and in the upper right is the location where the salt storage area will be. Directly centered on the screen is the large kind of flat roofed area is the large vehicle storage area. And on the left, the higher volume is the maintenance bays for all of the town's fleet. And again, just a kind of an aerial view looking across Depot Street toward the south. You can see the power line easement, which is probably what most people are familiar with in the area, to the left-hand side. The apparatus bay in front with the large apparatus bay deck out in front. The community room is the smaller volume here that kind of pulls out from the main mass of the building. And the roadway going back goes across the two bridges to get back to the public works facility. Topic that I know the board will be discussing tonight is the signage for the complex, as well as the naming. So this image, as well as this image, are the proposed signage for the complex. You can see here a little bit clearer with a granite monument on the left and a digital message board double-sided on the right toward the complex, police, fire, and public works below. Just for explanation, the renderings that we do are, though very accurate, not always completely accurate in terms of contrast and color. So up on the left, an actual image of the physical brick and signage that would be down on that lower portion where it's a little bit harder to read in the rendering. They do work very well in person. Jumping over to 321 Main Street. So this is the fire substation. Again, a rather small building in comparison to the others, but just over 13,000 square feet with a communications tower to the back of about 100 feet tall. This building is not likely to be accessed by the public. So it's really for town staff, mostly in the fire department. And these are the renderings. This building really hasn't changed all that much since you saw it the first time. And we expect to have closure at planning and zoning either tonight or at the next meeting. And I'll turn it over to Walter.
Connor, do we want to go through design? Do you want to go through the whole presentation first for design?
No, I suppose Greg, we could go back just to the signage, and we could talk a little bit about what the team has been thinking as far as wayfinding on site and in the interior, and give the board's feedback on that, as well as the complex's name itself before getting into the kind of construction and bidding. I think makes the most sense. So, Dottie, I'd look to you here. One of the decisions internally was, what do you call the Depot Street site? And, police, fire, obviously public works, but are obviously public safety, but DPWs are recognized as first responders by United States government, by FEMA. So we internally felt Easton Public Safety Complex was an appropriate name, but figured we would let the board weigh in. The idea that we took here was that we would stick with the town's existing wayfinding signage for the street signage, right? So that's where you get the shovel and cross logo. But on the more formal areas, like the building itself, you would have the town's official seal. Internally, for shared areas, you would have the town seal, and then departments would have their badges for those more siloed areas. If you look at the Depot Street facade, you could see the 5-bay garage. Greg, not to put you on the spot, but if you go back to that, you could see, I believe, the Easton Fire and Easton PD logos on both sides of those garage bays. I don't know if you have a clear shot of it with these. Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
So just trying to work with the iconography we have across these departments and our wayfinding to have it look consistent throughout town while still clearly be, this police and fire are here. There will be, I believe, interior campus signage as well. So when folks pull into the public safety complex, they'll see police, fire, public works, and there will be signage that says, if you're trying to get to DPW, go over that bridge and go this way.
So Connor, just so for interior signage within the site, we will follow the same town standard signage that you see throughout town on all of the wayfinding signage.
And I think one last thing of note is I believe we would need, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, to go to the ZBA for the digital aspect of the sign. Is that right? Have we?
Based on my reading of the bylaw, that yes, you would have to go to the zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit for the actual digital part of the sign.
Right.
They are prevalent around town, particularly on schools. Olive Rains has one. And what's being proposed here is a single color sign, just illuminated with letters. Really, the alternative is that temporary signage is often put up. You often see the tow trailers around times of town meeting. As you can tell, we took the opportunity to plug a special town meeting in the rendering. So, these are likely going to be out there anyway, either on a trailer or maybe a more appropriate permanent sign. And so that would be the process to getting this approved.
Right. So we thought it made a lot more sense, especially with these being 50-plus year buildings. These are not low-cost buildings. We would rather incorporate that into the design than put a trailer blinky sign on the new lawn.
Of course.
So
I think it's a good opportunity to have something like that. That area is well-traveled.
I think second most
It's a good way to
traveled road in
communicate. Yeah.
It's great.
I like the name Easton Public Safety Complex. That's all great. But where it says police, fire, public works, I don't think that's prominent enough.
So that's why we included the real photos, because the renderings, sorry, Greg, the rendering is not
I know,
helpful
but
here,
even
right?
at that, I don't know if that's prominent enough. Because we know it's Easton Public Safety Complex. Majority of the people in town know what's there. But if you're driving up that route, you might not know that's a police station or a fire station. Because for hundreds of years, they have not been called Easton, Public Safety Complex.
Sure.
They've been called Police Station, Fire Department, Department of Public Works. So it does say it. I don't think it's prominent enough. Coupled with, I do like Easton Public Safety Complex. So I know I'm not providing any solutions, but I'm providing my feedback.
I think that the designers know what that looks like. They've done it on other places, and if they say that it's legible, and if it's not, could the bricks be painted gray or something like that so that there's more of a contrast, or could,
I want people to know that's a police station in there.
Right.
Like that to me is not going to do it.
The colors or the words?
Well,
You're just
down
saying you
below,
think they're too small. And
they're too small. It's they don't contrast enough. It doesn't even look nice, in my opinion. That S against the brick, those colors don't even, like, you got that beautiful little thing out there that doesn't go.
What if it wasn't brick and it was like a gray?
Something more contrasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would probably be better. Again, I'm just providing my feedback. If you're driving by, you're not gonna see that.
Greg, how large are these letters?
So these letters would probably be about 8 inches tall. So about 3 courses of brick. We could look to make them larger and potentially change the font.
And center it. I mean, I'm not a designer, so I don't want to get into like the weeds of this.
Right.
You guys know what you're doing. I don't want to be that guy to that level. But I'm just trying to convey my.
I guess the point that we're trying to make is that as we're looking at it now, it doesn't look like it's going to be something that people are going to notice. So just keep that in mind when you're doing the final designs, that we're flagging that as something.
Yeah. I'm driving at 40 miles an hour past that.
Well,
I'm definitely not seeing it.
So, yes, to an extent, but remember, this is currently a grass field, so this will attract a ton of attention, right? There's town logos, including police and fire logos, on the building in multiple spots,
In
too.
the building.
On the actual exterior, too, right? So, and some of the kind of raising awareness of where it is going to be that we'll have to do outreach campaigns when this gets closer, because as you might recall, when the schools moved into Blanche James, when central admin moved with it, we had to make sure there was notices, updating everyone's emails, and all that stuff. But we can definitely look at the contrast. We want people to.
Yeah. Okay.
And the size of it, too.
Yeah.
What are some other examples of what towns are using for their naming of their complex, just for some like benchmarking? Or is this pretty a standard adoption of like town name, public safety complex?
I'd say this is fairly conventional. There are other things you can name it, maybe municipal complex, but that often refers to a complex with town hall, maybe other town buildings that aren't necessarily included here. So, senior center, things like that are usually municipal complex. So, public safety complex, I think the way Connor explained it was well put, and this is pretty common when we do that. For comparison, because it is just down 106, Mansfield calls theirs the municipal complex. Decision they made doesn't mean it's right or wrong. It's just what they determined they were going to call their complex.
But Greg, there are places that go with perhaps like a metal sign with a vinyl print. There are places that go with color. This is more traditional.
Yeah.
I think every designer's nightmare is their iterations being talked about on TV. So I've worked with Greg long enough that I could say that when we were going through iterations here, one of the things Greg and his team looked at was the existing wayfinding, not just fonts and logos, but the sign shapes. And as you all know, some of those have like a nice arch built into them, but on a granite slab, it ends up looking like a tombstone.
Yeah.
So we went with a square.
It looks very sleek. I really like it.
Yeah, I do too.
One, it's
Sophisticated.
It's
Yeah,
clean,
yeah.
and the building has a lot of sharp corners as well.
Yeah.
Not to play designer, but we've been looking at these things for a
Yeah,
while.
we don't want a tombstone looking sign. That'd be very confusing.
No, that looks great.
It's perfect.
The whole complex, it looks amazing. So sorry to have focused on the negative, because that.
No, it's good
is
feedback
unfair.
though. You raised a really, really good
Sure,
point.
people see it.
Yeah. And the only other thing, and it's more of a request, I've been asking the chief for years about this. Even Partridge before, so the 9/11 we had the ceremony, right? And the bell. Is there a place where this bell is going to go? Because that's such an important event, ceremony, place.
Yep.
Where's that going to be incorporated, and is it going to look awesome?
So you will be very happy to know that the design team and the fire chief and the town staff are down to that level of detail where we are.
Fantastic.
We are talking about making sure that there is appropriate space, either on site for those assets we do have, but also for other kind of historical the words are escaping me. Forgive me. It's daylight savings.
Well,
but
the markers
things
remembering.
that are important to these departments. So we are working with fire department on the bell relocation, but then there's also other things. I don't want to say trinket because it sounds
Like artifacts.
Artifacts, thank
yeah.
from these departments over time that when you enter the building, we don't have interior stuff here. I think we showed you some before, but when you enter this lobby, the community room is the first thing facing folks, because if you're not there for police or fire, you would be there for that. And there will be, nice kind of recessed shelving for these artifacts, and we're down to the level of detail of measuring the depth of the shelves with the items that we have in these departments to make sure that we don't do this extremely large, complex, expensive project and then not be able to fit the thing in the shelf. So we are taking those things into.
Brad, did you guys finalize? So I was out, but I'm not sure if you guys spoke about a final location for the bell on that meeting. I think that was probably the site meeting, or maybe it was an interiors meeting.
Yeah, so we haven't finalized it, but likely, Mark, it'll go near the flagpoles, near the main entry to the building. So if you were going to do a ceremony just to the south here, there's an area outside of the building near the flagpoles that could be used to house the bell, do ceremonies, raising the flag, lowering the flag, things like that. Also adjacent to public parking, so the public is right there and doesn't have to kind of meander through the site into areas where you may not want them to be, or they might not want to be, and so it's all right kind of at that main entry.
Excellent.
I think that's great, and thank you for thinking of that. I wouldn't have even thought of that, so it's a good idea.
Does that include the stones that are in front of Lotham Street Station for the police officers that died in the line of duty?
That likely would be the location, Craig.
Okay, excellent.
Yes,
Thank you.
those have been being contemplated as well.
Okay.
We want to make sure that the important memorials and symbolic artifacts are brought where they need to go.
Excellent.
That's great.
This is a minor detail that I like. The rendering program that KVA has, for some reason, can't use rectangular blocks out there. Is that right? So one of the things, you see a lot of large stones there. Those would be more rectangular, so they could double as seating outside in those areas. So when you're thinking about doing a ceremony or something like that, or just people having some place to sit, near the green space, that will be there as well.
It's so amazing to watch the transformation from the initial concepts to just watching it move and change along the way, the colors, the textures, the layout. It's really, just really amazing. Beautiful work.
Yeah, the technology, even in the time I've been involved in project managing for things like this, they're able to do full interior 3D rendered walkthroughs with virtual reality headsets that the members of these departments can walk through and tell the designers where everything was wrong in 3D VR, right? My joke aside, it's just really incredible. It's not just two-dimensional. It's not even just the three-dimensional rendering capabilities here with static images. I mean, these are, you can go in and change the time of day to look how shadows are casting in the community room, and it's been pretty amazing to see.
And I like the public safety complex, I think. Municipal, I don't think a lot of people know what that word means.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
It'd be confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they do, they might think the town offices were there.
The town
Yeah,
offices
I
are
could see
tucked
that.
in there.
Yeah.
Um,
So the Connor Reed Public Safety Complex.
Team can vouch that I never suggested that.
That is the opposite of Connor. That was a good one.
Really, really great job.
Any other questions relating to the design? Any curiosities at this point?
I'll give you the boring stuff after, I promise.
All right.
Greg, you're free to stick around in the event any last minute things come up. You're also welcome to go to your other meeting that you're in at the same time.
I need him to do control of this for.
I'm running the presentation, so
so you can't.
so I'll be here.
Brian from Weston Sampson has.
Yeah, the team has planning under control.
So for anyone that didn't know, we completed our 80% construction drawing estimate. That was in late August, early September for the package, and then the estimate set was reconciled at the end of September. Happy to say the voter approved budget of 116.7 million construction. That's construction costs only. We reconciled to just under that, about a third of a percent and a quarter of a percent, just under those two numbers. So with total project contingencies, still tracking right on that 150 million.53. So we are right on track with that 80% estimate. That is our last estimate before we go to bid. So we are on the right path. I want to let everyone know that the Municipal Building Committee did vote to approve this project be bid as a singular project to capture the bid savings and be able to stay within the project budget. So the way this is going to be bid is all three buildings under one general contractor. There'll be different substantial completion dates for both 321 and 524. And I'll get to that when I go into schedule a little bit and as we move forward. So the next couple slides, I don't want to bore you. If you have any questions, feel free. But these really just show the three different buildings, the breakdown of where the costs are associated with each of those buildings as we move through. So the fire substation, the public safety complex, and then the DPW. You'll notice that the site and utilities on DPW are much higher. We're accounting for the bridges for the DPW because you wouldn't need to get to the back of the site if that building wasn't there. So we just have the site cost for that specific piece of the construction in there. And then the final slide on construction is really the entire project as it breaks down where those trades, where the numbers go to the trades, OH&P, design and pricing contingency, and escalation. And you can see that's the 116.3 million. We are, and we'll talk to schedule again, but as Greg mentioned, the pre-qualification process, I think some of you might remember during the Blanche Ames School, part of Mass General Law requires us to pre-qualify both filed sub-bidders and general contractors. So a pre-qualification committee has been established. It's a member from the PMA team. It's all of PMA. It's a member from the KBA team. It's all of KBA. And then two members from the town, Dave Field and Dan Jick, were nominated, I guess. They volunteered, sorry.
Yes,
They
from the
volunteered
Municipal
to
Building Committee.
participate in this. They both have experience in it. So you can see we have a little bit of leeway on the management experience, the references, and the capacity to complete the project. We can move the points around to get the best fit for the town of Easton. The pre-qualification committee has met. We have finalized the scoring procedures for that process. All contractors are graded on the same level. There's nothing taken into consideration other than the package they submit and how it's scored. PMA will do the reference checks on the 100 and likely 50 plus packages that we receive. Try to get 3 references for every one of those. And we'll bring that process to completion. Hopefully November 13th we receive the packages. We're hoping to have everything complete and back to the pre-qualified sub-bidders and general bids by November 18th. So quite a bit of a process over the next couple weeks as we receive those.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so you kind of glossed over a bit, but so to date, there's been over 150 contractors and subcontractors who've polled to be pre-qualified for this project.
Correct.
Right.
So we've had
Which is
a
good
lot
thing.
of interest. Yeah.
Right.
We've had, I want to say 10 general contractors pull the package as well. So
That's great.
yeah, it is. It's good to see a lot of interest. We did a lot of outreach before the process began to make sure that we were going to have that interest on a large project, and it was well received in the calls we made. So
Good.
yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good thing. The more bids you get, all other things held equal, usually the more competitive a pricing is.
Yeah.
So we'll run through a little bit of the schedule right here. Pre-qualification wraps up on that November 13th date. we'll get the information out to the pre-qualified bidders within a week. We are planning to have that 100% design wrapped up this month and be available for trade contractor and general contractor bidding starting at the end of the month. We'd likely be giving them all the way to January, through the holidays, to give them time to get their bids in, put the pencil to the paper, and get their best and finals in. So we are anticipating wrapping up bidding process in early January. That's not to say that we won't have, Greg, words escaping me.
We will likely have addenda that goes out, basically addressing comments, questions from contractors, as well as, fine tuning the final bid date, to make sure that, as we bid across the holidays, that we maintain that high level of interest, and make sure that all bidders that are interested in bidding and, are capable of doing so, continue to be interested in bid, as the process move forward.
Below that, you'll see the planning and zoning, planning on having that wrapped up, if not tonight, on November 24th for 321, already wrapped up on 524 Depot. Below that, Easton Wetland Bylaw Review, those are wrapped up. I have the final piece of the schedule here that everyone's probably very anticipated in, the construction schedule. On fire substation, we are anticipating a 15-month construction schedule for that building. Greg mentioned it's about 14,000 square feet. On 524 Depot Street, which is about 260,000 square foot buildings plus the site work, we're anticipating providing a 22-month construction schedule. So what that looks like, granted that the contracts are executed right away, would be mid-April 26 for substantial completion for fire substation. Again, that's dependent on when that contract's awarded and the addenda period, that bidding period if it gets extended. And then combined public safety, public works, wrapping up, beginning that same time, the 22 months would be November of 2026. Again, that's all dependent on when those bidding periods end and when those contracts are awarded. After substantial completion, FF&E begins, technology install, punch list, commissioning, and then move into the new building. So 321 move into the new building, we're anticipating June, July of 2026. And then for public safety, public works, we're anticipating January, February of 2027 when those things are wrapped up. Again, depending on that final bid schedule and when it's completed. That's all taken into account in the estimates. So we're happy to have that process behind us. Key dates, we will be with the building committee, municipal building committee on November 12th. That'll be their 100% design update. And then we'll be continuing that trade contractor and general contractor pre-qualification and bidding process through November, through December, through the holidays. And hopefully be able to bring back good news to both the municipal building committee and the select board in the early 2025 year. I believe that's everything. Key dates for anyone that wants to participate. The meetings are virtual from Municipal Building Committee, November 12th, December 17th, and then again on January 14th in 2025.
Walter, can I, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, this presentation will be on the website as well?
This presentation will go on the website, correct.
Great.
Yeah, we are still updating eastonpsw.com. That is still the project page. We were socializing that a ton last year, leading up to voter engagement and the approval. But we are still uploading all of our project documents there.
And the Facebook page.
And the dedicated project Facebook page as well, for folks to follow along. And so if you marked their January, I think, 14th for preliminary contract review. So when are you expecting contract documents for execution? Like somewhere late January, February window? Is that the goal?
I think that would be best case scenario.
Okay.
Right now in our schedule, we're looking at mid-January. I would say probably we're going to realistically be late January.
Okay.
Probably February. But we can keep an eye on that as we move through this process.
And if it's late January, first half February, that still allows people to be mobilizing and getting out there in March.
Even
Hopefully.
later than that certainly would,
Okay.
yeah.
And so we will, as this advances, we'll keep that project page updated, and then over the holidays as we get information, and certainly when we start getting close to executing contracts, we'll figure out site mobilization, a groundbreaking ceremony of some type to invite the public to, given their substantial investment in these buildings.
Feels close to do that, but we have a lot of work to do before that, but it does feel close too.
We've all been working on these building projects for
Yeah.
7 years, so a few months will go fast.
Yeah.
Have you bought a house in Easton yet?
Not yet. A lot of my friends have.
Well, I have to just really call out the transparency on this process has been amazing. You know, there's not a question that you could have that isn't answered in a presentation or a document that's available to the public. So I think that's so important. You know, especially talking about these big numbers, it's hard to conceptualize, but to see every detail available is really great.
Absolutely.
Any comments, questions?
Just exciting to see it. It feels more real every time you're here.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm very excited. You guys are doing a fantastic job as always, and as expected. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for being here. It's good to see you.
You guys too.
Awesome.
Yeah, we missed you. We haven't seen you for a while, so.
I know, I was busy too.
All right, so next we have a couple of contracts for the DPW. DPW 2025-14 for Eastern Minerals, road, snow, and ice removal products.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. Attached in your packet, a memo and some supporting detail from the Director of Public Works, Dave Field. This is our typical practice every year. DPW purchases salt ahead of the winter from two salt and other snow removal products from two separate bidders, so that we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket. So this is funded out of snow and ice operating budget, and DPW recommends approval, and so do I.
So this is Eastern Minerals for $139,900 and Morton Salt for $85,965.
That's correct.
All right, Craig?
So I move to approve contract awards for the Department of Public Works, DPW 2025-14, Eastern Minerals, road, snow, and ice removal products, the amount of $139,900, and DPW 2025-15, Morton Salt, road, snow, and ice removal products, the amount of $85,965.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous.
Really quick, just back to that, just a question. Did you notice if there was an increase in price, or I'm curious about how much inflation is impacting our day-to-day?
I don't have the exact figure off the top of my head. If you give me a couple of minutes, I can pull your packet from last year and give you a comp. I apologize.
No worries. It's when
Where-
people ask about why are things so expensive, it's all these little things that add up, and sometimes we hit it and there's no change, or there's a tiny change, and those are nice moments. So in either direction, it's just good to know.
Sorry, I didn't even ask if there were questions. I just blew by that.
That's all right. I still got in there.
You did. You guys keep me honest. Flag down some of the. All right, while Connor's doing that, let's jump to item 15 and do the acceptance of the minutes. So we have the acceptance of minutes for October 21st, 2024.
So moved, Barger.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. And we have an acceptance of the Capital Planning Committee resignation, Rupsa Roy, with a seat expiration of June 30th, 2028. We want to thank Rupsa for her time on that committee and our appreciation. So just as a manner of protocol, we do have to vote to accept the resignation, and that is a first, a second, and a roll call vote. So
I move to accept the Capital Planning Committee resignation of Rupsa Roy, the seat with an expiration date of June 30th, 2028.
Second.
that's Bodger and Lamb, and a roll call vote starting with you, Jen.
Stacy Roy.
Lamb Roy.
Full Janetti Roy.
Barger Roy.
Excellent. do we have? Do we get everything else except for 12 and 13?
You want to do 13?
You can always email it to me, Connor. If,
Yeah, why don't we get that after,
Yeah.
because it's hard to pull up.
What is this? I think I found it. It's from October
25.
October 25th. Yes, you were faster and smarter than I was. I tried guessing. So what are we looking at here for price? No, scroll up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's in the memo. So last year, the board did 150,525, and now I don't have this year's in front of me anymore.
139.9.
139.9.
For more in,
And then-
for 2,500 tons, so it's actually less this year.
Yeah.
Secondary road sell contract at Eastern Minerals for 99,000.
So it's
750 for
it's
1,500, so it
85.9.
went down.
Wow,
We're down.
So
a little bit helps.
that's good.
Great. All right, well, that was good news. The next we have item 12, discussion and vote for contract PCD 2025-05 for Verica Construction for Wheaton Farm Barn Phase 1.
Sure, thank you. In your packet, there's a memo from the planning department for phase 1 construction work for structural repairs at the circa 1850 Wheaton Farm barn. It's a contract for $167,300 funded by CPA grants approved at 2 different town meetings. There's also Conservation Commission trust funds available for contingency if needed. Structural work will begin with rehabilitation of the historic town-owned building, put it into productive use, supporting the current tenant's agricultural operation that is being performed at Wheaton Farm. Construction work is expected to begin in fall of 2024 and finish by April of 2025. This has been reviewed by Town Council and the Planning Department. There are funds appropriated from town meeting. They recommend approval, and so do I.
Okay, that's great news. Any comments, questions?
I move to approve contract PCD 2025-05 Verica Construction Incorporated Wheaton Farm Barn Phase 1 construction in the amount of $167,300.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Next, discussion and vote for the approval of designated payroll signers listing as required by Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 41.
Sure, thank you. Attached in your packet is a memo from Collector Treasurer Linda Hawks that requests the board vote to approve a updated list of designated payroll signers under state law. The select board has to sign off on the payroll signers, so the list shows you who those primary authorized department heads are, who their secondary signers are, and backup signers. This is so that if somebody's absent or unavailable for some purpose, these departments can still process their weekly payroll.
Okay,
Questions?
no surprises there. Any comments or questions?
There is a formal motion
Yeah, I see it.
recommended as well. Just wanted
Yep.
to highlight.
I move to accept the list of designated secondary payroll signers in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 41, as provided by the Treasurer Collector.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Excellent.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
All right, we're down to the last couple of minutes, and we are looking to see, Connor, do you have any town administrator notes?
I do not, nothing prepared.
Con?
I second that.
Any of the board members?
No, it's just nice to see the community turn out for Halloween, and it appeared to be a safe and fun night for all of the kids in the community. And I just look forward to every year. So, great.
70 degrees on Halloween.
That was weird.
Amazing.
That was weird.
I remember bringing my kids in snowsuits some years when they were little.
Well,
like,
last year was
it could
cold.
be freezing or really
Yes,
warm.
last year it was
Yeah. So you just never know. But this was really wacky.
And there were a lot of opportunities for kids to experience the season, you know, whether it was Halloween specifically or, you know, everything happening at all the events.
Trunk or treats.
Trunk or
Stonehill does a
treats.
thing.
The
There's
school
Hay
has a
rides.
street
hay
week.
rides.
Yep.
There's
It's been a nice fall.
a lot of Halloween activities.
And we're rolling right into the other holiday seasons.
A lot of great stuff going on.
Yep.
Some really great concerts coming up at Oaks Ames Hall. Divas with a Twist is December 5th, I think, coming up in a couple of weeks. And then Steve Smith and the Nakeds, we had them at the Cultural District. They're awesome. It's a huge band, and they're going to be there for New Year's Eve, I believe. So get your tickets online. All right, with that then, if there's nothing else, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Barger.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Great. See you in a couple of weeks at town meeting, too. And thank you, ECAT. Joe, great job.